And welcome back. This is part two of Hotix Live. This session today is dedicated as a reminder to counterintuitive takes, surprising data points in 10 minutes or less. And we had an awesome first part. Couldn't be happier about it. I hope you find it interesting, entertaining, thought-provoking as well. If you missed it, you will be able to access the recordings to that. But we have a second half that's equally interesting and exciting. No pressure, Darryl.
Not at all. It's all good. Just, everything rides on you, Praill. It's all good.
Yes. And Darryl Praill, Chief Marketing Officer at AgroPulse. Welcome. Very excited to have you.
Thank you so much.
So you, in the spirit of the day today, you went for the kill. You were not using.
Well, you were very clear. Darryl, we need a hot take. And I'm like, how hot? And you're like, hot. And I'm
hot.
Like, I got
You're
it.
Like, all right,
Do it.
I have one.
Yes.
All right. So most marketers do not deserve to be a CMO.
Yes. Shall we go?
Take it away.
All right, let's do this. Okay, folks. My name is Darryl Praill. I am a serial CMO, an occasional CRO. Yes, I'm one of those marketers who went to the dark side. And I come to this conversation with much knowledge and experience on what it takes to be a CMO, and our marketers qualified to be a CMO. Because the number one question I get all the time is, Darryl, how do I become a CMO? How do I become you? Which, by the way, nobody should ever want to become me, just so you know. I just putting that out there. I am the Chief Marketing Officer at AgroPulse, and today's topic is most marketers do not, let me repeat, do not deserve to be a CMO. So, Chief Marketing Officer, AgroPulse, interesting fact, I am an introvert, but nobody ever believes me when I say that. And it's probably because I sit here and I yell at the screen nonstop like all those extroverts love to do. But there you have it. Let's get into the topic today. Every marketer, tell me if I'm right or wrong, every marketer, every person who's dedicated their career to being a marketer believes that they could be a CMO. They look at their current CMO, if they're aspiring, and they say, yeah, they're good here and here, but I would be so much better because I would do this and this and this. I bring this to the game. I would do things differently than my current CMO. I just need a chance. I would be an amazing CMO. And let me explain to you, dear friends, why you are probably wrong. All right? I'm going to go through the symptoms I see on a regular basis from aspiring marketing leaders. And you tell me if you identify. If you identify with any of them, don't worry. This can be fixed. But these are the symptoms which are why you may not be qualified to be a CMO. Number one, people prefer to delegate than get dirty. If someone comes to you and says, I want you to do this fantastic event, and you say, that's great, I need a VA to do this, you're delegating. You're not actually doing it yourself. A good chief marketing officer will have done it over and over and over again and can jump back in if they need to. Admittedly, we'll never do it as well as those who do it on a daily basis and when you're in the CMO office, but you will get your hands dirty. You will not delegate because you want to know how it works as opposed to just being the boss. Those candidates who were not good for CMO refuse to take risks. They refuse to experiment. They refuse to fail fast. And they don't want to learn how. Let me ask you a question. Are you on TikTok? If you're not, why not? Are you scared? Are you afraid of looking like a fool? Are you not sure how to do it? And it's just better off. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to take the risks. I don't want to blow it. I don't want to look like a fool. If this is you, you may not be CMO material. You cannot read a balance sheet. Further yet, you have no idea what the TLA KPIs actually mean. What do I mean when I say TLA KPIs? I mean the three-letter acronym, Key Performance Indicators. If you had to think about that, you're not CMO material yet. You could be. So what's your customer acquisition cost, your CAC? What's your LTV, your lifetime value? I could go on. It's all those TLAs, those 3-letter acronyms that measure your success. It is not your open rate, brothers and sisters. It is not your subject lines. It is not your ability to write copy. It's the balance sheet impact you're having. If you can't read a balance sheet, you are not meant to be a CMO. So there we go. Let's move on. What have we got next here? All right, next up, we've got, in short, too many CMOs are, simply put, too tactical. Let's look at The Office. The Office is not about the hard skills. It's not about how do I launch a webinar. It's not about how do I write copy. It's not about my pretty PowerPoints. It's not about the website visitors. It's none of that. The office of the CMO is about soft skills. It's about leading people. It's about understanding the hurts, the hangups, the habits they have, and why they react the way they do. It's about creating a culture in your organization of accountability. It's about leading from the front. It's about teaching them how to communicate, teaching them how to collaborate, teaching them how to celebrate, teaching them how to be authentic and radically candid with one another. A good CMO has soft skills. If you don't know how to lead your team, you are not a CMO candidate. If you're focusing on execution rather than strategy, you're not a CMO. You might be a VP of marketing. You're definitely a director of marketing, but a CMO has people to focus on the execution, and you've given them clear direction and guidelines and expectations, and you're thinking 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps ahead. It's a chess game. Who do I need to get involved to get the outcomes I want? How do I influence sales to physically close more deals? How do I, work the product team to get a feature in there so I can get on the Gartner Magic Quadrant? You're always thinking relationships. You're always thinking, thinking strategy, not execution. Are you struggling to build a personal brand, let alone your corporate brand? If you can't build a personal brand, why would I ever expect you could build a corporate brand? A CMO owns the corporate brand, but guess what, folks? It's a modern day. It's a modern world. And the modern CMO not only owns the corporate brand, but they do it by owning their own personal brand. How can you expect others to build a brand, to build notoriety, to do dark social, if you yourself are unable to do it? If you don't understand how it's done, or you're afraid to do it, or you simply make excuses for doing it, you're not a CMO. People who want to be CMOs know there's going to be conflict. If you find yourself avoiding conflict rather than engaging, just dismissing it, just running away from it, just doing everything you can to not engage in conflict, if that's you, then my friend, you're not a CMO. You know why? Because a good CMO is going to go to sales and challenge them on why they're not closing those leads. They're going to challenge them on why they're not multi-threading an account. They're going to challenge them on their sales sequences and their messaging. They're going to challenge them on their actual speed to lead. Why? Because you're measured on ROI, your marketing ROI. That's a TLA. And you're only going to get that ROI if sales closes those deals. That means conflict. That means challenging them. Same goes for the product. You don't have the integrations you need to get those new deals, but everybody's telling you, I need integrations. And you need to go to product and say, where are those integrations? I need it. And their excuse is, well, we don't have a use case. Can you relate to that? If you just walk away because I don't have a use case, well, that's BS. A good CMO engages them, challenges them. It's all about the conflict. You just do it strategically, not execution-wise. Finally, if you're missing your numbers, you're not getting the results, are you blaming others? Are you blaming sales? Sales can't close the leads. My leads are awesome. I don't know what the problem is. That's a problem. If you're blaming others, then you are not a CMO, because a good CMO says, I'm the fault. I dropped the ball. I screwed up, and I've got a plan to fix it. In fact, a good CMO warns everybody before you fail so they know what to expect that you might fail. And that's, again, not avoiding conflict. That's embracing it. It's all about the soft skills. So let's just go down to it. In practice, what do we know? Well, this is what we know. Success in being a CMO hinges on 3 truths. Number one, you are effectively an officer of the company, and that means you have fiduciary responsibility first and foremost. You own the revenue number. You own the churn rate. You own attracting talent. You have a financial obligation. Number two, you understand the role of every department in the process. You understand that if support and success suck, that churn's going to go up. And if churn goes up, they're going to come back to you to make up the shortfall in the revenue numbers, because not only do you have to hit those new numbers, you got to make up the business we lost. And because of that, you stick your nose into customer success and support, and you say, we need to fix the quality. I'm looking over at your departments. Similarly, you know they're going to be looking in at you. Finally, your role is to lead through shared goals, accountability, culture, and by example. Does your team know how they're being held accountable? Do you actually measure them on it? Do you compensate them on achieving it or not achieving it? Can I go to anybody on your team and say, how are you measured? How is the company measured? What's your big rock or your OKR? If they can't answer that question, you're not a CMO. It's all about being forthright and saying, this is mine, I own it. So what's the key takeaway here? A wonderful quote by Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Your customer will feel good if you gave them a great buying experience. Your employee will feel good if they feel like you have your back. Your colleagues, your peers at the C level will feel good if they understand that you're a company person. This is what it's about. It's not about the daily attaboys, attagirls. It's about the impact you make with people and how they feel. That, my friends, is what a CMO is all about.
I love it. Thank you, Darryl. Great work. So I have a couple of reactions / questions to this. And if anyone in the audience has also questions, feel free to write them in the comment sections. We'll pick them up. So reaction number one / question number one is, so you are a director level or senior director level. What are the things that you need to look into, develop to have a chance at aspiring at a CMO level, right? Most people are not, you are saying, which is fair and it's right. And it's not something that you are born into, but it's skill that you can develop over time. So what would be the top 3 recommendations from your point of view on that side?
Okay, awesome question. If you're at a director level, this is the following 3 things you should do. Number 1, you need to read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it doesn't need to be that exact book, but you need to understand how to motivate people. You need to understand the soft skills, all right? The best way to do that, I learned over the years, were to go to other executives who demonstrated those behaviors, go into their office or have a Zoom call, close the door and say, how do you do it? That's exactly how I learned how to do it. Because I got so frustrated at watching my colleagues kick ass and me suck and me thinking I had my act together and just frustrated. And when I went and asked them, they would laugh and they would smile and say, Darryl, it's really easy. This is how you do it. So you have to actually learn the soft skills intentionally. Number 2, become best friends with the CFO. All right. And understand the numbers that matter. Every CMO should be best friends with the CFO so they understand the actual TLA KPIs, all those metrics that matter. So you understand that you're having a consequential impact on the corporate goals, whether it be revenue, margin, whatever it might be, because that's how you're going to be held accountable as a CMO, not again by what your open rate is on your emails. Third thing is, go talk to the adjacent department. So if I'm in marketing, I want to talk to product, to success, and to support. And I need to understand their job inherently and their challenges by having blunt, candid conversations, how they're measured, what they need to do, what their challenges are, and how you affect them and how they affect you. If you don't know those jobs, you need to learn those jobs. Again, because as a CMO, you've got a corporate oversight, not just marketing, no matter what the title says.
All right. So those are some pointers for the audience. Appreciate that answer. My second question / reaction is, I don't know if you agree with this, but I think that CMOs have some of the broadest scope at an executive level and some of the most variable cost structure, which implies a lot of dynamicity with regards to reacting to the market, as well as to reacting to internal input stimuli, right? The strategic decisions. And so that makes it very challenging. And famously, the tenure of CMOs is not very long, right? And so how do you cope with that? How do you think about that? Like, is there any pointers or recommendations? Like, how do you navigate that in your mind?
You just need to understand how it's going to work when times are tough. When times are good, they'll always give you more bodies, more budget,
Right.
because, you know, times are good. So if we made this much money with that budget, how much more can you do, Darryl, with more budget? The bigger issue is when times are bad, which is why you become best friends with the CFO, by the way, as well as understanding the CEO and how they're measured. So, for example, one of the things you should also do, when I talked about the adjacent departments, I should have mentioned sales as well. And what you need to do is you need to understand how these people are also compensated and why. So, for example, if sales is compensated, a big portion of the VP of sales or the chief sales officer, chief revenue officer is paid by a certain revenue attainment, they're going to do everything in the world to move heaven and earth to achieve that number. That's their motivation.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is you need to understand, in a nutshell, all the financial burdens facing the CFO and the CEO when times are tough. And then you need to understand what their likely reactions will be. So in a downward economy, for example, or if you're not hitting your goals, the last thing they want to do is they don't want to fire people. That's the last thing they want to do, which means they're going to take away program spend first. So they're going to cut your budget. They're going to cut marketing's budget to try to ride out the roughness before we have to reduce people. But they may want to cut people to maybe an initial 10%. So if you're a good CMO candidate, what you're doing is you're proactively bringing it up. You're not waiting to be told. You're going to the CFO and you're saying, hey, times are looking rough. Should I start making a plan of where we could cut back in budget and what the consequences of those cuts would be? Should I make a short list of people we could reduce or maybe replace with, VAs or something else? You're proactively having that conversation with them, because when you do that, those key stakeholders, and the CEO and the CFO are very key stakeholders. They have the eyes and ears of the board members.
Yeah.
They're going to say, this CMO understands the business realities. We don't want to lose them. We want to work with them. They're a team player. They understand their fiduciary responsibility. So you don't hide. That's avoiding conflict. You engage, and you actually proactively come up with plans, because you're just doing a what if. But again, by doing that, they understand that you're a team player. They understand the impact of those decisions. So instead of them taking your budget away, you've told them proactively before they could do it, if you take it away, these are the consequences. And now they think twice about taking that budget away. So long story short, you control the narrative by you initiating.
I appreciate that. So we're going to go over for 30 more seconds. Question from Bob, talking about personal brand. So in a nutshell, what were the main initiatives that resulted in you being voted a top 3 marketer on LinkedIn? In your years as CMO and Chief Revenue Officer, have you ever resolved traditional sales and marketing conflicts to work toward common revenue, marketing, and corporate goals?
Okay, so the top 3 initiatives to get the top 3 on LinkedIn. So no particular order. One was just having a constant brand and visibility on LinkedIn and on social media. So I built my own personal brand. People buy from people. That's what you need to know. So that was the first part, was I was just busy on LinkedIn, adding value, sharing content, engaging in conversations. Number 2, I did a lot of content with a lot of the heavy hitters and influencers on purpose, because I wanted to get reach. But then those same influencers validate me and tell all their audience that I'm a good person. You should follow, like, and consume my content. So that's number 2. And then number 3, buy as many votes as possible. Blackmail is good too. Whatever it takes to get the job done.
Like under the desk activity going on.
Exactly. If you need to beg for them to vote for you, don't be shy. Beg for them to vote for you.
On people beds, that stuff.
Exactly. So that's how I did that. And that was the second part of the question.
In your years as CMO slash Chief Revenue Officer, have you ever resolved traditional sales and marketing conflicts toward common revenue, marketing, and corporate goals? Answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And again, the biggest part about that is you can anticipate. So you know where you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems first you're with two people, finance never giving you enough money, and sales not actioning your leads or complaining about your leads or lamenting about your leads. So say you become best friends with them and you anticipate the issues and you put them on the table and you get sales and marketing alignment.
Enough with this already.
Yes.
Appreciate your time very much. If anyone wants to reach out to you directly, how can they do that?
LinkedIn, DarrylPraill.com, whatever you want. It's all there, baby.
I got a post.
You got it.
Thank you so much.